Okay, let's talk about it. The ADHD brain and puberty. It's like this legendary monster mashup, right? Most of us just assume puberty throws gasoline on the ADHD fire and makes everything a million times worse. But is that actually true? Is that the whole story? Well, today we're going to dig into the science and find out what's really going on.
So here's our game plan. We'll look at the teenage brain with ADHD, compare aging versus puberty, get real about the stubborn symptoms, but then we'll get to the good news. Seriously, there's good news. We'll touch on the hormone factor and wrap it all up with a new way forward. Let's do it.
All right, first up, the teenage brain on ADHD. Let's try to untangle some of this chaos, shall we?
So, this is the big one, isn't it? The question on everyone's mind, is puberty just the ultimate enemy of the ADHD brain? I mean, it's a totally understandable fear. You've got this hormonal whirlwind hitting a brain that's already wired differently. But what if I told you the reality is, well, it's a lot more complicated. And honestly, a lot more hopeful than you might think.
Okay, on to our next section, aging versus puberty. Because these are two totally different forces at play. This is where we really get into the science thanks to this amazing study that helps us pull these two things apart. And you'll see they affect the ADHD brain in completely different ways.
And this is the study we're talking about. It's a big one. They tracked almost 850 kids, a lot of them with ADHD, for 8 whole years. Think about that. That kind of long-term view is absolutely golden. It lets us see what really happens over time instead of just guessing. It's our roadmap for this whole thing.
Okay, so this is probably the most important concept to get our heads around. Getting older and going through puberty are not the same thing. Think of it like this. Chronological aging is like a slow, steady construction project. The brain is maturing, the frontal lobe, the CEO of the brain, is getting built out. It's systematic, it's predictable. Puberty, that's more like a surprise rock concert suddenly happening in the middle of the construction site. It's all about hormones, the neuroendocrine system firing up, and emotional volume getting cranked to 11. Two very, very different things going on at once.
All right, section 3, the stubborn symptoms. Look, to get the real story, we have to be straight up about the tough parts. So, let's just rip the Band-Aid off and get the bad news out of the way first, okay?
And yep, here it is, right from the horse's mouth. The study basically says that inattention is just really stubborn. It's the one thing that doesn't seem to get better just because you're getting older. The researchers even use the word intractable, which sounds pretty intense, I know, but it's so important to just acknowledge that this is a real, persistent struggle. And the data shows a couple of other things that get tougher. First, impairment goes up. That's just a clinical way of saying how much ADHD gets in the way of everyday life. School, friends, family stuff. That tends to increase. And at the same time, depressive symptoms can also creep up. So yeah, these are definitely real and significant hurdles we have to be aware of.
Okay, enough of the tough stuff. Let's get to section 4, the good news, because your brain is growing up. And I promise you, it's not all doom and gloom, not even close. In fact, the science gives us some seriously fantastic news here, news that completely flips the script. And honestly, this is the part of the story that almost nobody talks about.
Okay, ready for the pivot? Because this is it. This is the moment where everything changes in how we look at the teenage ADHD brain. It's where we untangle that hormonal chaos of puberty from the amazing, powerful, positive effect of the brain just maturing.
And here's the proof. Remember that slow, steady brain construction project we talked about? The aging process? Well, the study found a direct link. As that frontal lobe develops, hyperactivity naturally goes down. This is so huge. It's not about a kid trying harder to sit still. It's about their brain literally, physically maturing and doing the work for them. And the evidence is just so clear. Look at this. That same 8-year study, it found that both hyperactivity and impulsivity take a nosedive as kids get older, a marked decrease. But here's the best part. The most hopeful thing I think I read in this whole study, the kids who had it the toughest at the beginning, the ones with the most severe symptoms, they actually showed the biggest improvements. How amazing is that? The brain's own growth process is this incredible, powerful ally in their corner.
Okay, section 5, the hormone factor. So we've got brain maturation helping out with hyperactivity and impulsivity. Awesome. But we still have that rock concert of puberty hormones going on. And this adds a whole other layer of complexity, especially for anyone who has a menstrual cycle.
This right here, this is a total game changer. Because for so long, these ups and downs were probably just written off as, teen moodiness. But what the research tells us is no way. These are not random mood swings. They are predictable patterns. Your symptoms can actually fluctuate with your menstrual cycle, tied directly to hormones. And just knowing that, that's the first step to feeling like you're not just on a random emotional roller coaster.
And it gets super specific. We're talking about mapping symptoms to the cycle, like inattention might get worse mid-cycle, right around ovulation. Then impulsivity might spike in that week before a period starts. Think about how powerful this is. It means you can go from just reacting to a terrible week and wondering what's wrong to actually anticipating it. You can look at the calendar and go, okay, next week might be rough for focus, so I'm going to plan ahead. That's moving from chaos to control.
All right, let's bring it all home. Section 6, a new way forward. Because knowledge really is power. We've got these different pieces of the puzzle, right? The stubborn inattention, the naturally improving hyperactivity and impulsivity, and these predictable hormonal patterns. So now we can put them together and build a whole new story.
And this is the core message. This is the big idea. ADHD and puberty isn't a story about things just getting worse. It's a story about things changing. It's a dynamic shift. So the goal isn't just to put your head down and survive it. The goal is to understand what is changing and why it's changing. Because when you do that, you can adapt. You can actually thrive.
So what does this look like in real life? It gives us a whole new game plan for support. Step 1, acknowledge the challenges. Just be real about it. The inattention, the mood swings, they're not imaginary. Validate it. Step 2, celebrate the maturation. Notice the wins. When you see hyperactivity or impulsivity getting better, call it out. That's the brain doing its thing. Step 3, understand the patterns. Get a calendar. Track the cycle. Look for those predictable hormonal shifts. And finally, step 4, and this is huge, reevaluate what support looks like. The tools that helped a super bouncy 8-year-old are probably not the right tools for a more inattentive but less impulsive 15-year-old. The needs change, so the support has to change too.
So I'll leave you with this question. How does knowing all of this change things? Well, when you stop seeing puberty as just this big, scary enemy and start seeing it for what it is, a time of really complex but also predictable change, everything shifts. We stop being victims of the chaos. We get to become informed, active allies. We get the tools to help turn what feels like a really challenging time into what it can be, a period of incredible growth for our amazing teens with ADHD.